Okay, I'm going to call together this Montgomery County Board of Supervisors meeting on Monday, July 28th, 2025. We will start the meeting with a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance led by our County Administrator, Angie Hill. Angie?
Please rise for a moment of silence and then join me in the pledge. Let us pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Angie. We have one presentation to start the meeting this evening. We have our Montgomery Floyd Regional Library Director, Kareem Khan, is here to provide a summary of fiscal year 25 library accomplishments. Welcome. And I apologize, I don't know your name.
I'm Selena Sullivan. I'm the branch manager of Christiansburg. So.
Selena, welcome. We're glad you're here too. Thank you.
Loiter over here.
Thank you for inviting me. I am happy to be here and to talk a little bit about what happened in the library in 2025, fiscal 2025. I'm going to talk for a bit about our new strategic plan that the Board of Trustees and the library staff have approved for the next 5 years. A quick recap of what went on in 2025, and just a little bit about future community needs, and then questions if you want questions. And now I'm going to put my glasses on.
Can I interrupt you for just
Sure.
a second and ask you to pull the microphone just a little bit closer to you so it'll come through on the video for people at home? Thank you.
All right. Once I was told that I was at a training and all the people could hear was me talking, so I try and keep it down. So the Board of Trustees approved our new 5-year plan. 5-year plans are required for Virginia libraries to get aid from the state. And so we were enthusiastic and happy to get this in effect under our key things that we're trying to emphasize are that we are a welcoming institution, that we believe that knowledge and creativity are positive goods to themselves, and that we that we need to provide free and equal access to our services, materials, and opportunities. And as much access as patrons want. So if patrons don't want a lot, they don't have to have a lot. But, on the other hand, if they want to come in every day, we're good with that too. So, in 2025, some of our key performance indicators, we found that the program attendance increased in 2025. The number of card holders increased by 16%, which is pretty good. Not every stat is up, but the ones that aren't up are pretty flat. So that's good. Passports were up by 12%. At this point, we've pretty much gained back our business in visits and in circulation from the pandemic. In 2018, our figures were close. The visits is down slightly from 2018. But when you look at all the 90-plus libraries in the state, we are number 8 as far as recovering our 2018 business. And many of the ones ahead of us are quite small. So really the only large library ahead of us is Fredericksburg Central Rappahannock Library. And they're in my sights. I'm after them. And now some of the milestones that we did. Does anybody have any questions about the performance indicators? Some of the milestones from 2025, probably the biggest one, and thanks to Becky for the drone picture, are Lee and Ray Dessie's Story Terrace at Blacksburg, which really gives us a great space at Blacksburg, which lacked a space for outdoor activities for children. And the nice thing about this is when the children aren't using it, people like to go out there and read and study, and it's excellent. We've already had the Chinese school, the Blacksburg Chinese School. You do a music program there. There was a very large foam party for summer reading. And, you can sort of see on the left over there, there's green space. If you go today, you will see a small pollinator garden that a Girl Scout put in as her capstone project. And more like that coming. We also had our book launch this year for the book Southwest Virginia Civil Rights Leader Nanny Berger Hairston by Cherie Scarborough. That's a project that's been underway since, I think, 2016 and was finished up in the past year with a grant from our Library Foundation. Very well attended, and we were proud and happy to be part of marking the historical achievements of Ms. Hairston. Right at the end of last fiscal year, we opened the Meadowbrook Free Fridge and Pantry, but most of the operations have been this year. It's averages about 1,000 pounds of food a month that's directly available without any sort of registration to people in need to address food insecurity in eastern Montgomery. There were some changes in some of our partners this year who had been funding things with federal grants, but we did some hot swapping, and Dollar General in Shawsville is helping them out. And this is the time of year when any number of community farmers will bring their corn and tomatoes by, so people seem to be good with it. We've expanded our sensory programming and equipment. We got Tovertoffel, which is a piece of technology for people with cognitive and intellectual disabilities, 2 years ago, and we've increased the number of programs that use that, as well as other equipment for creating a sensory space on a temporary basis. We are noticing that some libraries are creating a sensory space on a permanent basis and hope to explore that in the future. With the funding from the Library Foundation, we redid the teen space. Well, just at the last year, we moved around everything at Meadowbrook a little to get more space and also to allow us to have the teen space with the displays of the graphic novels, which the teens like, as well as these very nice chairs. There are no teens in them in that picture, I'm afraid. And our newest thing is we now make available in our branches 2 databases from the company, well, the not-for-profit Candid. One is GuideStar, which is a tool for researching nonprofits to support or find services. And one is Foundation Directory, which is a comprehensive online database and resource for nonprofits and individuals seeking funding. And we're really pushing this out to some of our partners in the community with the Thrive Network and the NRV Reentry because NRV Reentry was one of the people who suggested we get it. And also, places who are dependent on grant funding need access to a broader choice to the entire landscape of grant funding institutions. And this really does give that. We negotiated a pretty good price because in the day, that was like $14,000. Didn't cost us that much. So just a bit about our future community, too fast. Future community needs. Christiansburg Library renovation and expansion is something we would like to do. That's why Selena's here. Selena's the expert. Our current library was opened in 1986, and at 15,000 square feet, it kind of falls short of Virginia's standards for Virginia public libraries, target square footage for a library serving Christiansburg population. Though the library is attractive, and many people love it, mostly due to the staff, but also the building. It really is showing its age, both in the mechanical systems, the plumbing, the ceiling tiles, and the size as well, because as I mentioned about the sensory room, many of the newer things in libraries are kind of space hogs. And Christiansburg does not have quiet study rooms. There's a lot of things that people expect in libraries these days that it does not have. We're also looking at some point in the future to renovate and expand Blacksburg. Its facility is 10 years newer than Christiansburg's and is 1,000 feet bigger than Christiansburg's, but it's still getting a little old, and it still is not meeting the standards for Virginia public libraries. And then we're interested in ways we can provide service to county residents. We've done, we have the mobile library. Mobile library goes out 4 days a week when it's not in the shop in Roanoke. But Price's Fork, Reiner, and Pilot people have expressed interest in, wow, we would like a library here, or at least we would like library services. We may have an opportunity to try some newer service concepts, such as book vending systems, shared space with other institutions, pop-up programming, a holds-only collection, which is not really a holds-only collection because you got children's books too, because children are going to browse. And if the books don't come, space and flexibility for doing programming, events, and creating connections in the rest of the county, it's like, well, it would be great to have a building and it would be great to have books, but it's also great to share the other things that the library does out in the field. And I think, our mobile library does a story time at the old the old Montgomery Museum site once a month. And it's like, oh, well, the mobile library is not just for going around and letting people check out books and register for library cards. It's also a platform for programming and allowing people to make the connections with the library, with the county government. So that's pretty much my review of the past year. Does anybody have any questions?
So thank you so much for that, Kareem and Selena, for being here tonight. Our representative, the Board of Supervisors representative to the Library Board, is Supervisor Kitts. So I will see if you have anything to add or say. I know you've been pretty involved with the meetings.
So I've learned a lot, especially when I go down to Meadowbrook, that the pantry, not so much a pantry, but the food portion, that they do a lot down there. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if they get the recognition that they probably should. I actually learned, and I know we're going to talk about it some today with the Dolly Parton thing. I actually learned a lot about that. It was just amazing on that program. So, no, it's been an education. I know that it's time for Christiansburg. I know there's some hiccups in some of the ways that it can be adjusted. But no, they do a really good job. It's maintained really well. There's amazing people that work there and put in their time. And no, I'm just happy to be there right now.
Awesome. Well, let's see. Does anybody have any questions while we have library staff here with us? Supervisor Bone?
Could you go back to your mission vision
Yes.
slide?
Well, in theory. This computer is far enough away from me that the glasses fail. There we go.
So I was surprised that the word book is not anywhere on there. And I understand materials, but can you speak to how libraries have been changing over the decades for us older folks to know? Maybe?
Well, I mean, I would consider resources in this case to be the physical resources that we buy, as well as the ebooks and e-audio. The services space, yeah, so our mission, that's where books is in that. Knowledge and creativity, in as far as our, I would say, in libraries, we often think of information as going from data to information to knowledge to wisdom. And we tend to think knowledge tends to be found in books. So that's where it's referring there. And I definitely think when we're talking about human, amongst our values, human creativity, intelligence, history, and potential, that's also talking about the collection. But it's true that if we didn't do books, people would be like, what are you here for? The genius of libraries, aside from the fact that they're locally controlled, is that, we can buy books and they won't sit unused in somebody's house because people will bring them back and then somebody else will get them. And if the person who gets them doesn't like that book, they either don't check it out or they don't finish it. There is no shame. You do not have to finish library books. There is no quiz unless you come to a book discussion, and then there's kind of a quiz.
I always say the rule is the only person who has to read the book for book club is me.
Yeah.
And even then, sometimes I don't finish it.
So yeah, I mean, we are not walking away from books at all because we do believe that books books not only are a good books are the most effective, proven way to transfer knowledge among people over time, and also because books do have a role in making connections, and that's one of the reasons why book clubs are popular. Is people like to connect over the ideas that they've shared in a book. It's not to say that people don't like to connect over the ideas that they've shared by watching the same TV show, but we have DVDs. So.
And then the only other comment is I love the concept of book vending. It seems like it works well in many areas across the United States. Do we think that we'll have any impediments here locally?
I think the key, the general opinion is the key to successful book vending, locating a book vending machine that is unstaffed in a place where the library isn't, is picking your location, which is usually a matter of picking a partner because it's usually in somebody else's place, and trying to make available, in addition to things, trying to figure out a way to make people's holds available through it, and then trying to make sufficient copies of in-demand material. Because if you just took a random 100 books off our shelf and stuffed them in a machine, it wouldn't be very popular. But the book vendors that we use all have rental programs, so we would have a possibility of, say, the new Danielle Steele comes out, we get 5 copies for each of the book vending machines instead of just, one copy in each branch. So using the combination there, it could be successful. I mean, it's hard to say how successful it would be, but they seem to like it in Roanoke, and they have them in some of the Parks and Rec community centers in Loudoun County, and I could see it working.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have any other questions? Vice Chair Fidzikowski?
I'm curious, I'm sure it's way too early to ask this question, but I'm going to anyways. You mentioned expansion of Blacksburg Library. Is there enough room there to expand that library?
It would take a very good architect.
Okay, somebody who can cram
would-
a lot of space into nothing.
And a
Right.
talented engineer.
And it would also probably take some negotiation with the town, because I've talked about it with architects, and the lower parking lot, which right now is, go away from the microphone. The lower parking lot is owned by the town, and it's not really part of the library, but it's used extensively by the library. If we could get that space, things open up, even though the Huckleberry Trail rolls right through it. But it would be challenging, but I don't think the elected officials, and I think the people of Blacksburg are not particularly enthusiastic about the Blacksburg Library being any place but the historic downtown of Blacksburg.
Okay. Yeah, I was just thinking, and I couldn't remember how big that parking lot was, and I thought it kind of filled up whenever you had anything going on, so.
If Blacksburg Library was in Christiansburg with the Christiansburg parking code, it would right now not have enough parking spaces.
Okay. And my last comment is, thank you, Selena, for taking care of my passport. Back in April, I put it to good, I got it and put it to good use last week.
There
so
we go.
Thank you.
That's what we like to hear, because we never hear. Thank you for letting us know, because we never hear. We just send it off into the ether and pray. So
Yeah, it
glad
went,
well.
it went quickly. I was kind of surprised at how fast it was sent back, so thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, they generally, the State Department issues always has guidance on how long it is currently taking. They are estimating on the high end.
Yeah.
Anything else? Supervisor Biggs?
Well, I just want to thank you for everything you do. The libraries in Montgomery County are such an invaluable asset to our citizens. And I don't think people that maybe don't use the library know what they're missing. Because I just, I can't believe all the programs that you have. And so I was serving last week on another committee, and they were trying to find out what were ways to outreach to citizens in Montgomery County that maybe don't have internet or, what, and I said, well, the libraries, and they're like, what? I couldn't believe it. They weren't even thinking like that. And it's just, that's where people go. And, to have information there, I mean, that's where I would be putting it. So thank you for everything you do.
You're welcome.
All right. Thank you both for being here and sharing your accomplishments with us. We really appreciate all that you do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, the next item on our agenda is a public hearing, and this is for a fiscal year 2025-2026 budget amendment. This is an intent to adopt a resolution amending the fiscal year 25-26 budget by more than 1% of the total expenditures shown in the currently adopted budget by adding carryover funding appropriated in fiscal year 25 for county capital projects that were not completed at year end, and to appropriate funding for the county capital improvement plan not to exceed $37 million. Did you have anything that you wanted to add before I open the public hearing?
The only thing I will add is that we will have another public hearing at the next board meeting, I think, to carry over funds for the schools. This is an extension from last meeting to continue the process. There are some new dollars in this, but mostly it's carrying over from the previous year.
Okay. And for this public hearing on the budget amendment, I did not have anybody sign up in advance. So if there's anybody here that would like to speak to this budget amendment, please come forward, state your name, where you reside, and you'll have 4 minutes. Seeing nobody, I'm closing the public hearing, and we are moving to the next item, which is public address. Guidelines for public address are on the screen, and I do have 2 people that signed up in advance for public address, so we'll go through our list, and then if there is anybody else here that would like to come forward and make comments, you are welcome to. The first person that we had sign up for public address is Miss Wendy Baldwin.
Thank you so much.
Welcome. We're glad you're here.
And I brought a friend. Right? Feel free to come and have your picture taken afterwards. Good evening, and thank you for giving me an opportunity to come and talk with you. I'm Wendy Baldwin. I'm the Executive Director of the Imagination Library for Montgomery County, and this is an affiliate of Dolly Parton's Imagination Library. We're a 501c3 and a project of the Mount Tabor Ruritan Club. This is an all-volunteer effort, and where virtually every dollar that's raised goes to buy books for young children. How do we work? We enroll children from birth. We've enrolled 12-hour-old children to age 5, and then they receive in the mail a high-quality book every month until they turn 5. These books are appropriate for their age, and enrollment is so simple. I've left an enrollment form for you. Enrollment is so simple, we can do it in a public place. It takes about a minute. Name, address, and date of birth is all we need. Each month, we're billed by the Dolly Parton Library for the books that they send out, and the Commonwealth of Virginia pays half of that cost. So it's a very, they also pay all the administrative, the Dolly Parton Library pays the administrative costs, works with reading specialists to pick out the books, negotiates with the publisher, and mails the books. The end result, after the Commonwealth shares the cost, the result to us is about $1.30 a book. This is a highly effective strategy for getting books in the hands of young children. and igniting a love of books and reading, which is really what motivated Dolly Parton. We don't have tests, we don't do anything like that. It's just to see the excitement that kids get when they get a book in the mail with their name on it that they can keep. It's wonderful. And one of the other advantages that I particularly like that they mail the books is it gets to all households. Parents don't have to come out and go to a facility, with all due respect. The book comes to them. So she designed a program where she did the heavy lifting for administration, and we do the things we can do best locally, which is enroll children and raise money. So we began raising money in January of 2024, which is not that long ago, actually. And we began enrolling children the next month. The Dolly Parton program requires you raise money before you can enroll. We have served over 2,400 children in that time. We've enrolled through preschools, through daycare, through the Christmas store, through the Montgomery Floyd Regional Library, a great partner for us, through back-to-school nights. Touch a Truck was a favorite. We've used all avenues that we can think of to get the word out and to enroll children. Now, the books that they get are in English, but twice a year the books are bilingual, which we have found is appreciated by parents. Our fundraising has moved right along with our growth, and we raise money from individuals, from groups, from civic groups, from businesses, and I write grants. Last year, and this year we had our first fundraising festival, which next year I will give you a personal invitation to make sure you get to come and experience it. It was a lot of fun, except for the rain.
And I'm sorry to interrupt, but we have reached the end of time for you, but I know we've got our next speaker is also going to talk about the same topic.
One last thing, we gave out 26,000 books have been mailed since we started this program. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you. All right, the next person that we had sign up in advance is Lauren James. Welcome.
Thank you. Hi. My name is Lauren Badu. Lauren James is my maiden name. It's probably associated with my email. I'm sorry about that. And I am a writer at Virginia Tech and a mom to two amazing kiddos under 5. As a child, books were a hugely important part of my life, and that love has carried into my adulthood. So when I was pregnant with our first child, Lucy, I knew that from day one we were going to make reading a daily routine. And we did the same thing with our son, Luke, who came 2 years later. Now fast forward 3 years, and you can see books all over our house, and usually in my kids' hands. And a big reason for that is Dolly Parton's Imagination Library. My husband and I moved to Blacksburg from Ann Arbor, Michigan back in 2022. I remember upon moving here, my dad had told me about this incredible early literacy program started by Dolly Parton, and I should look into getting the kids signed up. Well, much to my chagrin, we didn't have a chapter here in Montgomery County at the time. Luckily, I was able to enroll them in my parents' local chapter of the Imagination Library in Fayetteville, Arkansas, which is my hometown. And they just mailed the kids their books each month to our address here in Blacksburg. It was such a wonderful surprise every month for Lucy and Luke to look in the mail and see a special gift for each of them. But after doing that for a few months, I realized that maybe, just maybe, we could get an Imagination Library chapter going here. I made a lot of calls and sent out a bunch of cold emails, but I didn't have much luck at first. That was until I met another woman who was a local woman who was interested in getting a chapter going too. Well, with her help, we found the best director and group to take this program on, Wendy Baldwin and the Mount Tabor Ruritans. With their hard work, supportive donors, and the amazing help of so many volunteers, they hit the ground running and have turned the Imagination Library of Montgomery County into a thriving book program. Of course, when the chapter started enrolling in early 2024, I transferred my kids' enrollment to here, and I was thrilled. So the monthly deliveries of their books continue, and each time is even better than the last. The best time of the day is when we can pick up our new book and read it together before bedtime. And when you know it, they love their books so much they even fight over them, which is kind of hard to get mad about. My daughter Lucy's latest favorite book is Cinderella with Dogs by Linda Bailey, and my son's favorite is The Green Tractor by Kirsten Hamilton, both Imagination Library books. But that could change when a new book arrives in the mail next month. Their favorite books always change thanks to the Imagination Library. Long story short, the Imagination Library has changed my children's life for the better, instilling a love for reading at their young age, and that couldn't make me any happier. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And that is the end of the people that signed up in advance to speak this evening, but anybody that is here is welcome to come forward and speak if there's anybody else that would like to. Welcome.
Thank you. My name is Carola Haas, and I live in Reiner. And I'm here to ask for your support for having an early voting location in the town of Blacksburg this fall, which would greatly improve access to the vote. The additional voting machines are already available, so staffing the site again would be the best use of this investment. Each of our communities is different and has different resources and different needs. Residents of the town of Christiansburg benefit from a bus service that provides reasonably convenient access to the county elections office, where they can participate in early voting. I know so many people who have chosen to live within the towns of Blacksburg and Christiansburg because it allows them to operate without a vehicle or with only one car for the household. Those of us living in rural areas are much more dependent on cars for our every day-to-day activity, so driving to an early voting site is more practical for most of us. It's a false equivalency to say it's unfair to have early voting sites in Christiansburg and Blacksburg if we don't provide them in Reiner or Shawsville or other rural parts of the county. Based on U.S. Census data on vehicle ownership, there are strong differences in vehicle access and use to folks in the 24060 zip code. I'm not great at navigating census data, but I tried to look up and just a comparison between folks in 24060 and 24149, which is my zip code in Reiner. 5% of Blacksburg households in the 24060 zip code don't have access to a vehicle to get to work, although there's another table in the census, which is not available for the rural zip codes, that shows that 7% of Blacksburg households don't have cars at all. So I assume 2% of those carpool with somebody else to get to work. But overall, 24%, over 24% of Blacksburg households had access to only a single vehicle for commuting to work. So if one member of the household has the car, the others rely on bus or walking or bicycle. But in the other localities that I checked, the percentage of single car ownership or zero car ownership is much lower. Only about 70% of Blacksburg households own more than one vehicle, whereas in Reiner, 87.3% of our households have multiple vehicles. Supporting the early voting location in Blacksburg would benefit not only the Blacksburg residents who may not own a car, but also the many county residents who work within town limits, such as myself, and whose work schedules might allow a lunch break visit to a location in Blacksburg, but not all the way to Christiansburg. Again, for me living in Reiner, I have to go through Christiansburg anyway, and my work schedule is very flexible, so I can go to the early voting location in Christiansburg. But that's not true for all the county residents who work in Blacksburg. And again, access to a convenient early voting location makes things so much more accessible. Especially for residents with disabilities, having access to the early voting makes that voting access so much more reasonable. As a rural resident who works in the town of Blacksburg, I understand that needs are different in different locations. I strongly support having an early voting location in Blacksburg. I recognize it requires additional staff to cover this location, but providing access to the vote is a critical service, and we've already made the investment in the voting machines. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to come forward and address the board? Seeing nobody else come forward, I'm going to close public address, and that will move us to the addendum. Do we have anything for addendum this evening?
I'd like to make a motion.
Okay, Supervisor Bone?
to add a resolution to new business. This resolution is to schedule a public hearing on August 25th, 2025, to hear citizen comments on a proposed ordinance establishing early voter satellite offices in Blacksburg at the Blacksburg Community Center, in Reiner at Auburn High School, and in Shawsville-Elliston at Shawsville Middle School. This is for the November 4, 2025 general election only.
Okay. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Okay. And do we need to have discussion and addendum or just a vote?
You can have discussion if you want. It's up to you, Jen.
Okay. Do we want to have discussion in this section of the meeting or when we get to this in new business if it's approved?
I think discussion would be limited to whether you add it to an
Okay.
addendum or not, yeah.
Okay. Is there any discussion on whether or not to add this as a new business item for later in our agenda? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, if you'll call the roll, please.
Mr. Grafsky?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Fidzikowski?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Mr. Kitts?
Aye.
Ms. Bone?
Aye.
Chair DeMotts?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Okay, so that motion that you made will be added to new business, and we'll take that up as our first new business item this evening. The board now is going to move into work session. Is there a motion to move into work session to discuss affordable housing strategies and the Public Service Authority Agreement?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Madam Clerk, if you'll call the roll, please.
Ms. Bone?
Aye.
Mr. Kitts?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Mr. Fidzikowski?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Grafsky?
Aye.
Chair DeMotts?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Okay, the first item on our work session tonight is affordable housing strategies. And this is a staff presentation regarding strategies, including definitions, regional funding programs, local tools, and project examples of affordable housing.
Right. Chris is going to do that for us, and he's going to start off with a little bit of background about what affordable housing is, and then kind of talk about what some of the tools in the toolbox are for the county to provide assistance with affordable housing strategies. We know from time to time that we do get requests to help folks out with that, so we thought it would be a good opportunity for that.
Great, thank you. So with that introduction, I will touch on definitions, some housing types of what we're kind of talking about, implementation strategies, which are really the tools in the toolbox, and then some past project examples here locally within the county, as well as the New River Valley. So a lot of times we're asked, like, what is affordable housing? And it's really, we try to just keep it simple as in the industry as anytime you can spend less than 30% of your income on housing expenses, that is considered affordable. It's within your means, and it's a healthy budget for you or your family. And when your housing expenses collectively, rent, mortgage, electricity, all those things that it takes to own or rent a home, is more than 30%, it's really considered a burden on your budget. And in that case, you're probably making choices to spend other money that you may need in other areas of your life to live, relatively comfortably, or however you might want to define that. Other definitions we touch on is subsidized housing, and that may be more considered when basically the government gets involved, and there are a number of ways, a number of tools, but when it's subsidized housing, it's typically focused on lower to moderate income households. They're usually at a greater disadvantage to renting or buying on a normal market rate in your community. They may have to pay excess portions of their income, live with extra people, live with families, or substandard conditions. And that's where typically most programs through the federal government, through our state, and then our local partners, anybody at that 80% area median income is kind of that test of of number there to obtain decent and affordable homes. And I'll touch on what does 80% mean in a more tactful way on the next slide. So when we talk about what is 80%, 60%, 120%, those are really just percentage of what our median family income is here in Montgomery County. So for a family, and we usually a family is 4 people. It can be, of course, 3, it can be more than that, but just to help kind of keep things simple, median family income is $109,900 for Montgomery County. And then when you look at the different percentages, if you're very low income in that 50 to 60% range, your family income would be about $55,000. 80% is $87,000, and 120% is about $130,000. And those are just really important kind of statistical numbers that are used, within the affordable housing topic area. Some more definitions. We refer a lot of times to workforce housing, housing for occupations needed in every community. We have, police officers, nurses, teachers, retail workers, restaurant people, office workers, most of the workers that we all work with and around are considered our workforce. And they typically fall within 60 to 120%, which are those numbers I just shared. Employees in some industries, retail sales, food service, tourism, tend to be in that lower income range. And some, your seasoned workforce with education or training tend to be a little bit, to the middle or just above that. And they find it difficult to afford homes in their community, and specifically in our community. It's not always easy. So one of the other key things with workforce housing that we have been working with is Governor Youngkin has made it one of his higher priorities of having programs to support workforce housing and tying that directly to economic development. So the more we recruit businesses and jobs, all those workers have to have places to live. So he has worked on a number of investments in the state that we attach ourselves to through those state departments. Of course, there's different types of housing units. You can certainly rent, you can buy homes, rental opportunities. There's a diversity of housing types with apartments, really small apartments, accessory dwelling units, duplexes, townhomes. So again, there's a wide variety of housing choices when it comes to renting. And some of those subsidized rental housing, would be focused on lower wage workers. Then there's also home ownership programs. Those home ownerships are single family homes, but other housing styles with townhomes, duplexes. Also focused on increased opportunity for first-time home buyers to just try to break into that market and start building a place to live and focus your family and your time in. And then another important piece to that is our existing housing stock over time always needs new owners, new investment, improving, renovating, fixing just older housing stock. So those are a number of definitions that we all work around. And then we work with, everything we do works with partnerships. There is no one entity that does this by themselves. So there's a number of partnerships. We have conversations. We work really hard with the Home Builders Association and the Chamber and other community organizations to better understand what the housing gap is. We study it. We really try to understand the specifics. Where are we achieving things? Where are we not achieving? And then also overcoming constraints. Developers, they take on a lot of risk, but it is difficult and expensive to develop new products, in the community. And again, also most of this, we're not special. We're not different than anywhere else. This is not something that's just a Montgomery County issue. So we also have other strategies, and I'll talk through several strategy points. What we expect out of development, so our codes, our requirements, some of those are locally controlled. like zoning. So what are our zoning and subdivision requirements, and how does that impact development costs? And just being mindful of that. There's ways you can increase density to allow, more units to spread that cost, over than having larger lots and smaller units. And then we also focus on the building process. Once they really are ready for construction, the site plans, the building construction, how long does it take to review plans? Time is very much money in the development side of the world. How much do permits cost? All those, add up. There's strategies with expedited reviews to try to move things along a little quicker. There's some very specific zoning techniques that may allow really, really small lots so you can put more on a small area and not have to spend so much money on the really expensive stuff, roads, water, sewer. And these are just two picture examples where, you're just really, it's compact development. And those are strategies kind of on the regulation side. We also have regional funding partners. So we work very closely with our New River Valley friends with the Home Consortium. And that's money that comes in and gets spread around strategically over time. We have our New River Home Trust, our New River Valley Housing Fund, and then some communities in the New River Valley have an affordable housing fund that's a very local, just for their jurisdiction, where they do set aside certain funds to help with projects that they would agree to subsidize the development costs. Which leads me to your locally controlled funds. These are your tools. We certainly have relationships, we have partnerships, but there are certain things that you have direct, absolute control over, and that's kind of what's in your toolbox. There's development fees. We charge for rezonings. Everything has a fee, a building permit, a rezoning permit, application fee, site plan fees, subdivision fees. So those are all things that the board, can decide to waive, to lower for specific projects. Cost of water and sewer connections. That's a big cost. And a very important revenue for, your utility departments, whether you're the Public Service Authority or the town. They rely very much on connection fees. And in this case, too, they are always paid, but they're paid by somebody else other than like the developer. So, for example, you may have a general fund, could use taxpayer dollars to fund those connection fees. So the PSA is not just giving up money that is important to them, but that is another tool. There's real estate tax revenue, that additional when you develop property and you go from what was there to the investment after the fact. Those tax revenues can be rebated back or have some type of relationship to that property owner, to the builder and the developer. There's also infrastructure investment support, and some of these will help when I give you examples, but we work closely with VDOT. So, we have revenue sharing that we can partner with if there's turn lanes or improvements that are needed. Maybe there's a stormwater facility that's needed, and the county has a greater public, interest, and we can partner on stuff like that. And then there's also funds under this like grant access and management that only the government can get through us, but it can funnel through to a development. And we take that on as the fiscal agent, as the grant manager, but the actual funding benefits the development in the end. So these are all tools that you have absolute control over based on what the board may want. And it's also very important to recognize every project is unique. There's so many different strategies and ways to approach different grants at the federal level, at the state level. So there really isn't a one size, one policy, hey, we can do this. You really need multiple tools, and those developers will work with the board, they'll work with staff to find what things are best to help leverage other funds. So that's important. And then what's also really important is they have to perform. we're not just giving away money. They have to achieve the results that are expected, that are agreed to over 10 years, 15 years, whatever the term is. So there's always performance agreements with funding agencies, with developers of the development process. So some examples, and these are all things we've already done over the last 5 to 10 years. Under real estate tax rebate, Fieldstone is an apartment complex focused on senior and low to moderate income residents in Blacksburg, and the county agreed to do some real estate tax rebates. So they pay their full freight and tax. They guarantee, they do their audit, they show that they performed, and then we send a check back to them. Infrastructure investment, Prices Fork Elementary School, the historic Prices Fork Elementary project, we worked with VDOT to leverage revenue sharing funds to help improve turn lanes and that through that Prices Fork area. And the developer would have to pay for all that on their own, but we're able to leverage funds from the state to do that. Another with Fieldstone, they actually were able to work with the town to use a stormwater pond that they made a regional stormwater pond. So they didn't have to pay the full freight of that pond, and it benefited all of the public downstream from that pond. So it's just ways to strategize and to find areas that you can work together. Grant access, again at Prices Fork. Prices Fork is actually a state best practice. It's presented across all the housing conferences. It's a real feather in the cap for those agencies that helped fund it, and for us, it's an example that's been used quite a bit. We were able to access CDBG funds, that's Community Development Block Grants, and that was able to help create that Live, Eat, Work, Grow. Did I do
Live,
that
work,
right?
eat, grow.
And I even changed it after I was looking at Live, Work, Eat, Grow.
Elweg.
I know, and that created this commercial kitchen concept and a number of other just educational programs to help people. But in the commercial kitchen, so you don't have to have your own. They basically rent it out, and you can meet all the health department requirements, create your own food, and then sell it. So that was very successful, and we were the fiscal agent and managed all that money. So let me just double check. I think I had one. Prices Fork. So as I conclude, I just wrap it up in that we continue to discuss opportunities. We meet with developers. We meet with our community housing partners, Habitat for Humanity, the Regional Commission. They're all strategizing for grants and different projects, and we meet with them regularly to find successful paths forward for different projects. And we're as staff happy to support anything that the board would like us to research more or look into further, and answer any questions that you may have tonight or bring back any information you have.
Thank you, Chris. And this, I actually requested that this be put on as a work session just to give us as a board some ideas of how we can enable affordable housing, because I know we all are passionate and have spoken about the need for affordable housing opportunities in our various districts. And so I really appreciate hearing this information. We've got some great developers that are working in our community to bring affordable housing projects. And this was really to kind of give us an idea of what we can do if a developer comes forward and says, I want to build affordable housing, I need your help. This is the tools. So let's see what kind of questions people have. And I know that was like drinking from a fire hose. So we can certainly, if there's specific things, we can get more information and bring it back at a later meeting or answer it via email. Does anybody have any? Supervisor Grafsky?
I was just going to say, Chris, his presentation will be added into board docs so that we can go back through that. Because like you said, it is a fire hose, and so being able to go back through that, I think, will be helpful.
Okay. Supervisor Biggs?
Could you get specific examples from maybe other places that have taken some of the the tools that you're talking about and use them in a manner to create a development?
Oh, yeah.
Because
We have great examples,
yeah, I'd like to see
but just
that.
next door, like in
Yeah,
Pulaski and other areas.
Because all, you hear back is, developers don't want to do affordable housing because they can't make money from it. But then other places, like I think Martinsville did something recently, and Floyd County, I would like to know, like, an example of, so that maybe we could push that out there some way. Thanks.
Sure.
Okay, down here. Supervisor Bone?
Along that with Supervisor Biggs, is there a way to advertise outside of this region for developers to see the examples that have happened here and they can make money on? It just seems to me that the developers that we have here already have their niches and they kind of might check it out, but I think we might need to attract. How would that look for us, or is it there, or talk to that, please?
I don't have a specific answer, but I think it's something we can look into and just see, are there others out there? Fieldstone is an example. They're from Charlottesville. They're not from here, but they found a product and an opportunity. So there are some examples, but there's definitely, it's just something we'd have to look at. The Regional Commission is also kind of updating, and they do a lot of work on the study research side of housing, so it's something we can, reach out to them as well and just see what other examples or ideas are out there.
Supervisor Kitts?
There's a lot of builders that aren't going to be happy with you. I'm just going to throw that out there right now. So one of the things we got from a meeting before that I sat through for economic development, it was, and he brought up a point, he kind of hit me. It's like achievable housing versus affordable housing, and the differentiation between the two. And I thought that was interesting because just because it's affordable doesn't always make it achievable. So I'm really interested to see how we do this and how it kind of fleshes out, because to sit back and look at that can be a hard line of division right there between achievable and actual affordable. So I'll be interested to see how this plays out.
Well, and I'll say, as somebody who has worked in the for-profit, not affordable housing world, as well as in the affordable housing world, it is a corporate mentality first. If you are a developer and you are choosing to build affordable housing, you are choosing to make less money. And so that's kind of a good start for it. But I get what you're saying, achievable versus affordable, and there's a lot of gray area there. Supervisor Ben?
Just to follow up on the short comment that was said right before he went into his point, is by no means am I interested in leaving the developers that are here behind. I want to, all boats to rise. So maybe we do find a partner somewhere and they can teach the rest that might be interested, gosh forbid, why would we kind of outsource something when we've got a lot of great developers right here doing great stuff? Thank you.
Oh, I do apologize. That was capitalism always is good to have more competition. I was just kidding.
Are there any more comments, Vice Chair Fizikowski?
I'm glad that you gave that definition, Chris, of affordable housing, because some years ago, in my short tenure on this board, we had a nonprofit. We're building affordable houses for only $350,000 apiece. So it's something that's kind of gotten away from us, but it looks to me that the only way we're going to have anything built is if a developer comes forward and says, this is my idea, how can you help me? And as far as I know, in the past 8 years, I really haven't seen any of that unless it happened behind the scenes. Our developers build beautiful housing in areas that they all get sold. at $350, at $450. They get sold. So there really is no incentive for them to do affordable housing. And I think you mentioned the Regional Commission some years ago when I was on it, and they did that first housing study. They showed some really amazing housing developments made with manufactured housing. They're beautiful, well landscaped, and very affordable. And I would love to see somebody take that on in this county, but I don't think it's going to happen. It would have to be somebody from the outside that has a plan like that and knows what they can put it in for. And it would be probably beneficial for them to contact us. We might be able to steer them in the right direction, but again, they would have to acquire the land, and we probably could help them with some of those other things that you mentioned, which I would love to see that in this county, but I'm not going to hold my breath. But I appreciate the information.
Supervisor King?
Since I've been on the board, we've been talking about affordable housing. I had a meeting with a developer, wanted to build, he's thinking about building in the county. He said he wanted to meet about affordable housing. So I met with him. I said, now before we get started, got a question for you. Your affordable housing, my affordable housing, two different ball games. What's yours? He's about $350,000, $400,000. I said, we ain't way off. But I'm like, Steve, if we could do some manufactured housing. I mean, they have them in Florida. They got nice development in Florida with them.
That was one of the strategies that the Regional Commission identified for Montgomery County was manufactured.
And it's like, I do appreciate all the information that you brought in. PSA has 3,700 water connections. We're not very big. So if you talk about doing away with connection fees and things like that, that would really hurt PSA.
And I think, like Chris said, that we wouldn't be able to do that because the PSA really does rely on the connection fees to help maintain the capital infrastructure for the authority. But one of the ways to do that is similar to an economic development project for a company. If the county wanted to provide a grant to the PSA, and once the developers started and met their agreement, then we could reimburse the PSA for it instead of the PSA being the entity that did not receive the money.
Well, I know, well, I don't know. I'm pretty sure all of us wants affordable housing. But I think before you start giving away taxpayers' money for grants, we need to have several public hearings on it.
And I'll just add, I agree, affordable housing is different, in everybody's perspective, affordable housing is different. So in my district, affordable housing looks very different than it probably does in both of your districts. And when the picture of Eccles Village came up, I actually thought, I wonder what Steve and Todd are thinking about all those houses on top of each other. But the town of Blacksburg has a couple of strategies that I've seen them leverage as well. One is their new small lot ordinance, and I think they just approved a project that is using the small lot zoning ordinance, which is really cool and exciting. And then they also have a fund that, and I don't know that I'm proposing this for the county, but I think it's interesting that developers for-profit, not developing affordable housing, can proffer donations to the Housing Trust Fund that then can be used to offset some affordable housing projects if they come. So I just think really wanted to make sure that we all kind of were on the same page. Should somebody come forward with a project and make any requests, at least we kind of have a foundational knowledge. So I think we're done with the affordable housing topic. So let's move to the Public Service Authority Agreement. That is our second item in work session this evening. Angie?
Yes, I think Marty's going to answer any questions that you might have about the agreement that he sent out a few days ago. And staff can certainly answer questions if you have any. We didn't prepare a presentation for this since we've spoken about it at the past few meetings.
Okay. Marty, do you have anything to add before we start peppering you with questions?
No, other than, as Angie said, that a draft agreement went out on Thursday, and it's consistent with what we said it would have at the last meeting. But so I can talk about it if you want, or just answer questions.
Let's answer questions, and then how do we define success for this section? What does staff need for us to finish with here?
The next step is to advertise an ordinance to approve this agreement. The Board of Supervisors has to approve by ordinance because it's an exercise of joint powers. The PSA would just need a resolution to approve there.
So we have that as our first new business, or our
Yes.
second new business item after we added the resolution.
Correct.
Right.
That would be the next step forward. If you didn't want to move forward, then we would just stop now, I guess.
Okay, so then let's see what kind of questions board members have about the draft agreement that was sent around last Thursday. Does anybody have any questions? And I'll look to you first, Supervisor King, as the chair of the PSA. Do you have any questions about the agreement?
Don't have nothing about the agreement, but I'm still trying to figure out how it's going to make it better.
We've the items that we've talked about over the past few weeks, I can repeat those to you again if you'd like me to. For the citizens, I know you know the topics that we've discussed about supporting the overall development and making it more cohesive for the county and the PSA to work together. The county is responsible for making sure that the public health is provided for citizens, and the Public Service Authority provides water and sewer in the unincorporated portions of the county. So we're sort of doing the same thing with two different bodies right now. The PSA is responsible for the day-to-day operations, and I haven't really talked about this in the meetings before, but as you know, when there have been challenges in the past that were not the responsibility of the Public Service Authority, but our water supplier had a problem that resulted in us having a problem. And then we worked together, but it would be more cohesive and I think a little bit stronger. I think it would be a lot stronger if we had that all under the county to be able to make sure that we're all on the same page in those instances and that we're serving the citizens as best we can and responding appropriately to both the board and to the citizens. We also talked about the development community and making sure that we're providing them the best service that we can by making that a little bit more cohesive and helping the PSA employees feel part of the county.
Well, if what some's looking for is to have the PSA closer to the county, when we get another director, that person can be directed to go to county meetings and everything. It's just, I just don't see the benefit of it. I want to ask a question. Please forgive me. I want to ask a question. A couple years ago, I get a phone call. It's on a holiday. The whole community had no water. It wasn't even our well. I go out there in the middle of the night, try to get a hold of the gentleman that owns the well. Can't do it. Community has no water. I call the staff. We got to get people water. We had a company come out there. How am I going to get paid for this? Not bragging, not complaining, I'm stating facts here. I said, fix the well. If it don't get paid, I'll write you a check. People need water. Wonder if I get called in for trespassing on a man's property, I'll go to court and say, I made him do it. PSA is a passion of mine. Who's going to take that responsibility if it switches over? In the middle of the night, if we have another system that don't belong to the county, who's going to step up and say, fix the well, we'll deal with the problem later? Who's going to do that?
I think that yes, I would do that. I would expect that our emergency management services people would help us with that, and I would think that we have the tools in place to help people that are not on our water system, that are in the unincorporated portions of the county in that situation. If there was a community without water, we would get water to them, as we've done in the past. The PSA and the emergency services folks work together to make sure that the PSA could fix and repair a leak while the county EMS department made sure that folks had water. So we would do that, and they would call, I assume, I don't know, maybe they called you directly, but citizens can always call 911. They would dispatch to our EMS folks who are working 24 hours a day, every 7 days a week, every day of the year, and they would help them.
Well, with all due respect, what's EMS going to do?
They're going to take water to them.
Bottled water?
That's what they would start with.
I'm talking about a system, the same system. Get a phone call. While we was going through the process of taking over the system, man had his yard flooding. We fixed that.
Can I jump in here?
Yes.
No organization should have a single point of failure. And I agree. What you're saying is exactly right. But you should not have a single point of failure. You should have the ability to have multiple ways in order to get in touch with that organization to be able to have something accomplished. Anything that you have that's a friction point that causes a single point of failure in an organization is an organization that needs to be restructured because of that single point. You cannot have anything like that, especially for a county this size, without some redundancies in different areas. And it should not fall upon you, which God bless you, because you bust your behind for that stuff. It should not fall upon you or whoever the director is. It should be a shared burden across. And that's what I think this is, because this is something we hadn't talked about, but that's a shared burden for the county, because you're right. You shouldn't have to. And who are you going to call? You're exactly right. You're 100% right. But that has to be shared across the county. That's where, if it's that bad, EMS gets involved. Usually people get upset. They either call water or they call 911. If they're calling 911, they're already going through the county anyway. So I think, while I understand your point and understand where you're coming from, I think you actually solidify the other side of it, that a consolidation and a diversification of leadership and responsibility allows the PSA to be more flexible and to be able to react at a quicker pace and on a larger scale.
I'm going to bring us back to the agreement, and we can certainly have this discussion, but we need to discuss the agreement and make sure if we have any questions about the agreement that those are answered. So we have this also as a new business item, but let's talk about the agreement first, and then we can have more discussion. Are there any questions about the agreement? Okay. I am not seeing any questions about the agreement, so Marty, I think you're off the hook for that one.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any more discussion around, I guess the next thing to do is to have a public hearing where citizens are able to weigh in, but do we want to have any more discussion in work session tonight about converting the county or the PSA to a county department?
We would maintain the PSA, just for clarification, maintain the authority and have an operating department that had the staff of the PSA function reporting to the county.
What she said. Okay, do we have any more comments about that?
One more thing.
Okay,
Go ahead.
Supervisor Bone.
After the last meeting, we discussed this. The thing that came to my mind, because one of the topics that we discussed was if the PSA employees sat right in or adjacent to planning, our planning department, for example. And I'm like, we are not in the 20th century. We are in the 21st century, and people do co-locate when they don't work for the same organization. So again, I still struggle to see how we can't all work together in concept and just leave the organizations the same, but build the systems so that we're working together better instead of, doing these things. Changing. I personally like, it's sort of like, in times past, the Board of Supervisors may have all agreed to be more friendly with each other as opposed to more of an arm's length with each other. The concept of having an authority in the Board of Supervisors or the county, there's reasons why we don't want to completely bring it all together. And so keeping it separate, but thinking more out of the box and more contemporary to make those connections and communication channels seamless, given these imaginary lines that we have that are true lines. They're two different organizations, but I don't see any reason why we have to change the structure, because it seems to me that everybody wants to work together. And if during emergencies, PSA didn't have any objection for the county to take the lead, to coordinate,
When we've had emergencies, it's hard to define who's going to help at which times. And so what happens sometimes, because of respect of the two positions that do report to separate boards, is either two people are doing the same thing or neither person is doing it. Sometimes there's discussion about which person is going to do which thing, but it's because of that separation, it's not as cohesive. I understand what you're saying, and it doesn't. Generally, there are times that doesn't work like you might think it would.
So how does it work with the sheriff's department, the two towns police? How are they successful in carrying out a mission of public safety?
I'm not equipped to answer that.
And as opposed to PSA and the county in this instance. I mean, they're all separate organizations, but they sure work very collaboratively together. And the chain of command, if I'm using the wrong terminology, help me out, is pretty darn clear, even though that there might be 3 different organizations on site dealing with something. It's the same kind of concept to me, but I don't know.
They have jurisdiction in the entity that they work for, so the town of Christiansburg has jurisdiction when the incident occurred there. So if other people are there, I believe Supervisor Fidzikowski could help me. The person there would be, from that locality, would be the one that would be in charge of the chain of command. Is that correct?
That's correct, and everybody else would be assisting in that, whatever incident it was, so. And the two towns, the chief reports to the mayor.
And so in our instance, I mean, if it had to do something like what Supervisor King is saying, if it had something to do with the PSA systems, the PSA should be in charge of that. But if it's in a community that doesn't have PSA water, everybody would assume that the county should be in charge of that. I don't understand how difficult it is to figure out who should be in charge at a particular time. To me, it's just a matter of conversations and just bringing clarity, using all the past examples to say, oh, well, we should have done this, and problem solve each time after so that we get better and better at it. Because you're going to have to do that probably anyway, because you're always going to have a PSA entity to deal with. So I struggle with this.
Supervisor King, you also had something.
Yeah, just one more thing. When was each elected, we knowed we had a PSA board to serve on. To me, if we turn this over to the county, we're shucking our responsibilities.
Okay, does anybody else have anything to add before we end work session? Okay, is there a motion to come out of work session?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Madam Clerk, if you'll call the roll, please.
Mr. Kitts?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Mr. Fidzikowski?
Aye.
Ms. Bigg?
Aye.
Mr. Grafsky?
Aye.
Ms. Bone?
Aye.
Chair DeMotts?
Aye.
7 ayes.
I'm looking at the time. Let's do a quick break. We'll do a 9-minute or 8-minute break to 8:45. The time just changed. We'll do just a very quick break until 8:45, and we will resume at 8:45 p.m.
Very quiet.
Okay. All right, let's bring it back together. We are moving on to items of consent. Is there a motion with regards to our?
So moved.
Second.
Am I going to have to gavel you guys down there?
Evelyn.
All right, the consent agenda has been motioned and seconded. Madam Clerk, if you'll call the roll, please.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Mr. Fidzikowski?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Grafsky?
Aye.
Ms. Bone?
Aye.
Mr. Kitts?
Aye.
Chair DeMoss?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Okay, our first item of new business this evening is the resolution that we talked about in the addendum section. Supervisor Bone, can you read the resolution that you proposed, just so we've got, since it's not on the agenda?
What I read before?
Yes, please.
Yeah, give me a second. The resolution is to schedule a public hearing on August 25th, 2025, to hear citizen comments on a proposed ordinance establishing early voter satellite offices in Blacksburg at the Blacksburg Community Center, in Reiner at the Auburn High School, and in Shawsville-Elliston at Shawsville Middle School. This is for the November 4, 2025 general election only.
Okay, so on this new business item, is there a motion to schedule this public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, and is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, Madam Clerk, if you'll call the roll, please.
Mr. Grafsky?
Aye.
Ms. Bone?
Aye.
Mr. Kitts?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Mr. Fidzikowski?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Chair DeMoss?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Okay, moving on. The next item of new business is authorize staff to advertise a proposed ordinance. This would be approving the agreement between the county and PSA. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, is there any discussion? And I will also note this is this advertising a public hearing or just adoption of this ordinance?
No, it's advertising. The ordinance will be advertised. There won't be a public hearing unless you want one. It's not required. But what you will have is it'll be come up to the board on August 25th.
Okay. Okay, is there any discussion about this?
I think if you're going to do it, you need to have a public hearing and let the citizens have a chance to have their comments heard.
Okay.
Support that.
How would we go about scheduling a public hearing?
What we'd have to have is an amended motion asking that the resolution just be amended where it also advertises a public hearing on that day.
Okay.
It's simple, yeah.
Supervisor Kitts, are you okay with that amendment to your motion?
Yes, I'd accept a friendly amendment to it.
Supervisor Grafsky, would you accept the friendly amendment as well?
Yes, I would.
Okay, so now we are considering advertising the proposed ordinance to approve the agreement between the county and the PSA and holding a public hearing on August 25th, 2025. Okay, is there any other discussion? Okay, Madam Clerk, if you'll call the roll, please.
Mr. Fidzikowski?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Grafsky?
Aye.
Ms. Bone?
Aye.
Mr. Kitts?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Chair DeMoss?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is the Opioid Abatement Authority Memorandum of Agreement and Operational Agreement. I know this is procedural. Marty, Angie, is there anything to add about this?
I can just really quickly, this is, I think, the third year, Angie, is that right?
That's correct.
That we've done this regional project with the counties of Pulaski, Giles, Floyd, and the city of Radford, and we're using opioid funding. And what you're asked to approve is the operation agreement, which has new funding for this coming year of about $3.1 million, and then it also has another $1 million or so in carryover from previous years that wasn't spent. So the project funding is close to $4.2 million. And then along with the resolution, it also authorizes the MOUs, because under this process, not only is the county a partner in doing projects and all that, but we're also the fiscal agent. And so we, as the fiscal agent, we have memorandums of agreements with every provider that money comes through our finance system and then goes out. And those agreements basically tell them what rules they have to apply, what they have to do to comply with our requirements as fiscal agent. And so you'll not only authorize the signing of the big agreement with the other areas, other localities, but also the signing of all the different MOAs. And there's a number of them. It's for every provider.
Okay.
It's paid.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
But Madam Chair, before you vote,
Yeah.
Oh,
Caucus.
we have to seek some legal advice on whether or not.
Right.
Okay.
all right, thank you.
Supervisor Grasky, did you have anything to say?
I guess a disclosure.
Okay, go right ahead.
One of my usual disclosures
Go right
as it
ahead.
relates to the Community Health Center and my service on their board. The Community Health Center is a recipient of OAA funds, and so since the county is a fiscal agent, I'll be abstaining
Okay.
from the vote.
Okay. All right. Madam Clerk, if you'll call the roll, please.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Grafsky?
Abstain.
Ms. Bone?
Aye.
Mr. Kitts?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Mr. Fidzikowski?
Aye.
Chair DeMotts?
Aye.
6 ayes, 1 abstain.
Next item is the County Capital Fund appropriations and transfers. Angie, did you have any comments about this before we?
Yes, I do have a small comment. The next two appropriation resolutions are for the capital projects. We pulled one item off at the request of a board member, and this appropriates and approves what Mark Magruder, our budget director, presented last meeting for our capital improvement plan.
Okay, thank you. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, if you'll call the roll, please.
Mr. Grafsky?
Aye.
Ms. Bone?
Aye.
Mr. Kitts?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Mr. Fidzikowski?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Chair DeMotts?
Aye.
7 ayes.
And the next item is the County Capital Fund CIP project balance carryover. As Angie mentioned, this is for 305 Roanoke Street and was separated at the request of a board member. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, if you'll call the roll, please.
Ms. Bone?
Aye.
Mr. Kitts? Aye. Mr. King?
No.
Mr. Fidzikowski?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Grafsky?
Aye.
Chair DeMotts?
Aye.
6 ayes, 1 no.
Next item is the Montgomery Floyd Regional Library Fiscal Year 26 Budget Reconciliation and Floyd Library Appropriation. Wow, that one was hard. Angie, save me from me.
This reconciles the state budget to our budget and also appropriates the Floyd portion of the appropriation. We have to wait for Floyd County to tell us what their appropriation is, and then because they're part of our Montgomery Floyd Regional Library, we appropriate the funds and serve as fiscal agent for that part of it.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, if you'll call the roll, please.
Mr. Kitts?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Mr. Fidzikowski?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Grafsky?
Aye.
Ms. Bone?
Aye.
Chair DeMotts?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Next item is Economic Development Engineering Studies. Angie?
This is to appropriate some of the reserve funds for economic development, and a portion of the funds would go to the Fryling Branch Corporate Park for Lot 3 to look at how we could develop that site for future expansion. And then the other portion of it is for an existing industry that needs some help with the fire suppression system and the way that they connect to the water line that is close to their facility. That's what those two items are for.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, if you'll call the roll, please.
Mr. King,
Aye.
Mr. Fidzikowski,
Aye.
Ms. Biggs.
Aye.
Mr. Grafsky.
Aye.
Ms. Bone.
Aye.
Mr. Kitts.
Aye.
Chair DeMotts.
Aye.
7 ayes.
Next item is the Sheriff's Office appropriation of school speed zone monies for equipment purchases. Angie?
This resolution is to allow the sheriff's office to purchase AEDs for patrol vehicles and also airway clearance devices for the county facilities. So far, we've collected about $282,000 or $3,000 of revenue from the speed zone cameras in school zones. And so it's appropriating a portion of those funds. I think that the sheriff has some other items that he would like to bring forward, but he needed to get some more information about those. So it will likely come back up in the future, but $285,000 is $283 actually is how much we have right now. So it's only a portion of that.
Okay. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? I will add a item of discussion on this with the, it sounds like 231,000 additional dollars.
Yes.
I would, and I'll ask him, I would respectfully ask our sheriff to consider some of the one-time costs associated with school resource officers as a use for that funding. Okay?
Yeah, that would be a good connection.
Let me ask one question. This money here, could we allocate, I mean, not a whole lot of it, maybe $1,000 per high school and donate it for their prom party, you know, to get kids to come to the prom and keep them safe?
The after proms?
Yes, I think we could do that.
Could we, do we have to ask or could?
Marty, we could we, the county, pay the individual schools to their like activity funds and for their after prom parties?
I mean, maybe, you know, give one $500 and two $250s if they stay at the after prom all night or whatever they do.
Okay, something to consider for sure.
Not whatever they do.
Madam Clerk, if you'll call the roll, please.
Mr. Fidzikowski.
Aye.
Ms. Biggs.
Aye.
Mr. Grafsky.
Aye.
Ms. Bone.
Aye.
Mr. Kitts.
Aye.
Mr. King.
Aye.
Chair DeMotts.
Aye.
7 ayes.
And the final new business item is the Imagination Library of Montgomery County. And I will, because I cannot make a motion, I will say a few words about this before we take a motion. All of you know that I am from Tennessee, so I feel a soul connection with Tennessee native Dolly Parton. This is an absolutely fantastic program. I think it's connected to an organization that all of us are very familiar with, the Mount Tabor Ruritan Club, and we are all familiar with the great work that they do in our community. I requested this item to be added as a new business item. The Imagination Library did approach the county for funding this year, and no new agencies were funded. So tonight's request is $7,500, but I would love it if the board would consider in our next budget cycle adding this as a recurring annual item that we fund. So we can talk about that in the next budget year, but that would be my great wish.
Well, I would like to make the motion in honor of Chair DeMotts and Dolly and our two guests tonight. I make that motion.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Is there, and I know Supervisor King, you had a question. We do have representatives from the Dolly Parton Imagination Library. Ms. Baldwin, could you come up? Supervisor King has a question, and I don't know how to answer it.
Thank you.
Certainly.
It was talking about parents in here. You know, we have several grandparents that has custody of their grandkids.
Yes.
Could they apply for these books?
Yes. Yes, they could.
Okay.
And we will help them when we're enrolling. If anybody has a question about location, we give them an enrollment form. There is a caretaker section. Yes, they could enroll.
Okay, and this money stays in Montgomery County, right?
Absolutely. Every penny.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
I've got a question too.
Vice Chair Fidjakowski, stick around, Ms. Baldwin. We've got another question for you. Sorry.
This money, what will it cover?
Books.
Just books
Books.
or admin?
We have, last year, books cost us $16,000, and we had less than $200 of other expenses. The board now has asked me to put insurance and join the Chamber of Commerce. This year, in addition to book costs, we'll have maybe $500 of other expenses, and then the rest, the $30,000, will be books. One of the nice things about this is the money all goes to books.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll say that during the initial fundraising efforts, I signed up as a personal supporter of the program. So every month, I know I contribute $26 just as a recurring monthly donation, which I understand is one child books for a year.
Price has gone up. It's $31 a year now. But yes,
So redo
when you
my
get
form.
and we very much appreciate that. But one of the challenges, I'm sure you understand, is that we make a commitment to provide those books until the child turns 5. So we have significant out-year commitments as we enroll. Thank you. Anything? Can I answer anything else?
I don't know, Robin, did you have something
Oh,
that
sure.
you wanted to add?
Absolutely, my treasurer.
Hi, Robin Sanborn, the treasurer of the Imagination Library. So I wanted to just note that that $7,500 contribution that we're requesting would provide 5,700 books to children in Montgomery County.
Thank you.
Thank you both. Okay, Supervisor Bain.
For someone who led a couple of nonprofits over the last decade or so, and being on the board for the last 8 years, in the budget process, the $7,500, no criticism of this. I think what you're trying to accomplish is wonderful. Has nothing really to do with you other than the $7,500 would be greatly appreciated by any one of the nonprofits in our community if they only asked and someone on the board could champion potentially. It would be nice to know that, first off, all the nonprofits that we're funding now, would the $7,500 be, I don't have my language correct, better served to be distributed among those for the betterment of our community than funding all of the $7,500 for this?
When we evaluate the requests of existing outside agencies that are nonprofits, we look at how much, what percentage of the population served for that nonprofit is in Montgomery County and what the proportionate share is for us compared to the other people that contribute. So we keep that in line as well as we can based on the projections. So I think that the existing nonprofits that we fund are appropriately funded. If we need more money to keep up with their increasing clients or whatever the case may be, then we do bring those to you. It has been our practice for as long as I've been here to not bring new nonprofits to you, but we do make sure that we're funding the current existing nonprofits proportionately to the citizens that they serve in Montgomery County.
So just to have further clarification, you just said we don't bring new nonprofits.
Unless they're asked for by a board member. That is correct. What you said about
Okay.
asking a board member to champion a nonprofit, that is correct. If you want the staff to have a new practice, we can do that.
I think the practice in place is appropriate.
Okay.
I don't understand what practice in place are you talking about?
The staff does not propose new funding unless it's requested by a board member
Okay.
for new agencies, not for
Have we
existing
had
agencies.
that practice for many, many years?
Yes.
Okay. And if a present nonprofit wanted to request more money, could they do it mid-year?
An existing nonprofit,
Yeah. If they had a new program.
they could ask for that mid-year. If, you know, some of them bring one-time requests to you mid-year that we bring. I personally would recommend to them if they had an operational item that was an increase that they didn't foresee, to try to figure out how to work with them to let them cover that in their current budget and then address it in our budget in a future year.
I appreciate all the clarification. Thank you very much.
Okay, any other discussion? Madam Clerk, if you'll call the roll, please.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Grafsky?
Aye.
Ms. Bone?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Mr. Kitts?
Aye.
Mr. Jakowski?
Aye.
Chair DeMons?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Thank you both for being here.
All three of them.
Well, sorry, Dolly, yes, thank you too. And now we'll move on to reports. Do we have a report from our county attorney?
We do not, Madam Chair.
Okay. County administrator's report.
Yes, of course. The first thing I want to report on is the very most exciting. I want to congratulate Supervisor King. He was appointed Friday. It was announced to the Virginia Fire Services Board. That's right. I got to the S and I was like, is it services or safety? The Virginia Fire Services Board by Governor Youngkin, and he will be sworn in tomorrow into that role. It's a 4-year term, and the Virginia Fire Services Board helps coordinate fire services across Virginia. They help with the Virginia Department of Fire programs on statewide fire prevention code and the financial support of volunteer fire departments, and also assist in recommendations related to programs and criteria for fire training. So congratulations. Also, this is all down, not as exciting as that. That's the best. The lower level of the parking deck at the courthouse was open today. The repairs have been finished there, and the upper level will be finished. The coating will be applied, and hopefully over the next couple weeks that will be reopened. The reassessment project kicked off on last Tuesday with a meeting. Folks will begin seeing data collectors that are also known as assessors visiting in their neighborhoods beginning the week of August 11th. And that's a long process. It's effective January 1st of 2027. So those folks will be in the area for quite a time. And the first meeting was to talk about how to make sure the citizens know that that's starting and getting the word out about that with our public relations folks. The comp plan update continues. Montgomery Matters will have 2 open houses before our next board meeting. One is this Thursday at Bellevue Elementary for the Bellevue Village, and then on August 7th at Eastern Montgomery Elementary School for the Elliston Lafayette part of the county. Those last from 5 to 7:30, and they are open houses. And then the Teal Park is doing very well. There was a meeting today. I didn't get an update on that yet. I believe there was a meeting today about the finishing touches and punch list items. The county picnic is scheduled there on August 23rd, and it will be ready to go. Then on September 27th, we've tentatively scheduled that as the 50th anniversary celebration for Parks and Rec, and we'll have a big celebration there. Lots of kids from all over the county will be there, and it's really exciting. I also wanted to remind you of another exciting event, which is the Christiansburg High School ribbon cutting, which will be on August the 5th at 4 p.m., and we're all invited to that. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Angie. Following that, we'll go to board members' reports, and we're going to start with Supervisor King.
Don't have no report, but don't we have a process when people nonprofits ask for money? It's the first part of the year, right? That's what we usually ask them
For
to do.
nonprofits?
Yeah.
Yes, and any nonprofit who asks the process, we let them know what the process is. We send them a packet out. We actually do that in November. It starts really early. We're going to get some more information out on the website that explains that a little bit more in depth about how the whole process works. But we do share the packet with them and let them know the process and
The time
evaluate
frame.
it. Yes, we do.
Yeah, okay. And could we get each board member, if they want one, could we get a copy of what we are given that's not mandated by the state and federal
Yes.
government?
Yes,
How much it is and who it's to?
yes, mandated and non-mandated. Yes,
Right.
we will do that.
But just the non-mandated. Because
Non-mandated,
there's nothing we can do about the mandated.
right. Yes,
Thank
we'll
you.
do that. I'll email that to you, to the group.
Supervisor Kitts?
So I don't really have a report, but I need to thank staff because I've been throwing a lot of projects on them as my mind begins to run. So I just wanted to thank everyone for all the efforts they've been putting in on the side and taking those calls at the odd hours to make sure my stuff is taken care of and how my brain process is helped out here. So I just wanted to say thank you very much.
Supervisor Bode?
I don't have any report, but I'd like to thank the staff too, doing a great job. Thank you.
Supervisor Biggs?
Ditto on thanking staff because I know you were working over the weekend. I also want to congratulate Supervisor King because this is an honor to be appointed by a governor to serve on any of these boards. And having served on 2 in the past, I want you to know, Todd, you're going to be making decisions that are going to impact localities across Virginia. And I know that this is something that you have aspired to do for quite a few years. And I'm so thankful that you are now getting the opportunity to do this. And I know that we're all being represented in our region in good hands with you. So good luck with everything. Let us know how it goes. And then I wanted to say I was really glad to see that the school funding from the federal level had been released to the states. So I hope that comes, down to the school districts. And then finally, the race for ACE is this Saturday at Blacksburg High School at 9 o'clock. And so I just wanted to I'll just give you a couple brief numbers and I'll let you know how much we make. But we currently have 320 students from Montgomery County that are in the program. We've had 1,000 overall since it started. And just for this fall, those students are going to be giving 25,000 volunteer hours to our community. So on Saturday, while you're doing stepping out or before you do stepping out or whenever, if you have a free moment, come on over. You can see how it operates because it's such a vital program to our community. And that's it.
Supervisor Grafsky?
The only thing I have tonight, and since they came up in discussion earlier, but the Mount Tabor Rotans are having their August Fish Fry a week from Saturday on August 9th. Always a good time, good people, good food. Get out there and support the Rotans and support Dolly in turn. That's all for me.
Thank you. Vice Chair Fidjakowski?
I have to admit, I haven't really done too much in the last 2 weeks, but I did read some emails, so I want credit for that. But no, I don't have any report.
So I got a question for you. Steve, you didn't stop off the boat and go to any Board of Commissioners or Board of Supervisors meetings in Alaska so you could report back?
No.
And then I just have 2 quick items. Mary alluded to it, stepping out in Blacksburg this weekend starts Friday and Saturday. I think it's 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. both days. Don't quote me on that, but it is always an amazing time. So encourage citizens to go to that. And then also I wanted to highlight the work of the Virginia Cooperative Extension. They are getting ready to do a well water clinic, which is super, super important to people that are on wells. They give you a kit that you pick up from the Cooperative Extension Office here in this building, or you can pick it up at the Cooperative Extension Office on Virginia Tech's campus. You have to pick that up on August the 4th. You take samples of your well water, you bring it back, you drop it back off on August the 6th, and your well water is tested for contaminants and chemicals. This is normally very, very expensive testing. If you take part in the cooperative extension testing, it's $70, which is considerably less expensive than if you have it tested on your own. So I want to encourage citizens who are on wells, if they are wondering what's in their well water, this is an opportunity to get that test done at a fraction of the cost. And that's all I have this evening. Seeing nothing else, this meeting is adjourned.